No KJ, no problem. This Illini team looked dang impressive.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome one, welcome all to another post-game edition of Locked On Illini. My name is Sunny Verma. You're here at Locked On Illini. Your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I do half hour's worth of Illini content every single day. Thank you for making us your first listen on the audio side as well. First listen every single day. And thank you for supporting the Locked On Network, your team every day. Okay, so today's episode is going to be brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Win or lose, visit FanDuel.com to get started. Okay, this is more like it, right? The moves in this room has got to be a lot better than after that Washington game, a Washington game where we barely escaped with a W. Illinois now has two 30-plus point victories against Big Ten opponents. And, I've said this, and my everydayers in this chat, if you're watching this live, or if you're watching this the next day, or if you're listening to this on the podcast the next day, you're going to know I've been saying this. This is the best team in the conference. And we know Oregon's no slouch. And I don't think Penn State is a slouch. Penn State beat the drums off of Purdue earlier in the year. And this game wasn't close. It was a 39-point victory. And at one point, Penn State was up 11-5. I believe Illinois went on something like a 38-6 run, something along those lines. This game is just, I feel I'm going to be repeating myself a lot here because this was it reminded me of that Oregon game. And the key factor behind this, the biggest difference, is your best player didn't play. Kasparas Jakucionis for, I'm not really sure what reason. Some of you might watch this post-game press conference with Brad Underwood, and you'll be able to tell me in the chat. I know they said it was something with his left forearm. His name didn't show up in the availability report. And I was getting dinner preparations done for my son. It's his 4th birthday, which is why I kind of missed. By the way, my son, if he ends up watching this down in the future, happy birthday, love you. I was getting stuff done, and all of a sudden the Discord, the Locked On Illini Discord, which, by the way, there's a link in the description, started telling me that, hey, KJ's out. And so I had to scramble from my phone and try to figure out what's going on. I didn't get much details. Again, outside, something didn't feel right in his forearm. So immediately, what happened? I get nervous. I'm already nervous coming into this game because Illinois doesn't exactly have a good history playing against the Nittany Lions when it comes to basketball. I think it's 1,000+ days since Illinois recorded victory. Kofi Coburn was our starting center. Alonzo Plummer was starting on that team. I believe Trent Frazier was starting on that team. That was the last version of the Illini that beat Penn State. So even with KJ playing, I was somewhat nervous. I've said this before. I like Penn State. I like their team. I like Mike Rhodes, their coach. I do think that they're a year or two away. But they just had Illinois' number. And now when your best player is gone, it's like, oh boy, here we go. I've talked about that on the show. I know KJ is going to be there game in and game out. I'm not worried about him anymore. But who is going to be that second guy to step up? Alongside KJ is what I was wondering. And so if KJ wasn't there, someone had to take on a superstar role. And honestly, we had one guy take on the superstar role in the first half and another guy take on the superstar role in the second half. Let me know in the comment section who your MVP is, because I think this is pretty close. I think this is between two guys for the most part. I know who you're going to pick, and it's going to be the same pick that I have. But again, this Illinois team, when they shoot the way that they did today, they didn't 10 for 31 from 3-point line. 31 shots is probably, not even as much as Brad wants. I really felt like that was more around 35 to 40 the way we were shooting. 34 for 77 from the field. But you know what? It wasn't about the offense today. It was not about the offense. And spoiler alert, the episode I had planned coming up, I was going to talk about I actually trust the Illini defense more than I do the Illini offense. And I don't know if it's worth even talking about anymore because you kind of got a glimpse to why today. You don't have to shoot lights out every single game. The way this Illini team plays defense, where they disrupt offensive flow. Penn State's a pretty decent offensive team on their own right. They couldn't do anything for 15 minutes in that first half. And it's all just because of the masterclass of a defensive effort that Illinois put forth in that first half. Once I think my first 5 minutes were over. They gave up 21 points in that first half. At one point, Ben Humrichous had outscored Penn State 21-19. If Illinois continues to play this sort of defense game in and game out, that team, the way they play defense, would be a top 5, top 6 team in the Big Ten. But when you combine that with the way the Illini can just go nuts on offense on occasion and just shoot 3 after 3, this is why I said that they are the best team in the Big Ten Conference. And, I didn't think that they were a national title contender. I thought this was going to be somewhat of a rebuilding year. But even I'm starting to readjust those expectations. I don't think they're a favorite by any stretch. But when you play defense like this, and if you shoot the way you did against Oregon, there's nobody in the country that can beat you on that night. Even today, without your best player, your potential All-American, a guy in the conversation for the Big Ten Player of the Year, they scored 91 points. 91 points from this offense. It's giving up 52. Again, second 30-point victory. This team is good. And all credit to Brad Underwood. He talked about in this press conference, I believe just before the day before, that he's trying to teach his team to keep their foot on the throat. That even when they're up big, hey, look, when it comes to net rankings, when it comes to, all these different analytic services at this point, eventually the margin of victory does matter. And so while a couple of years ago, you can see the benefit of just, letting up a little bit, maybe giving your guys at the end of the bench some burn on the court, Brad understands he can't do that anymore. He's not being mean. I'm sure he still respects Penn State and Mike Rhodes and everything that he's doing over there. But he's playing for March. And seeding is going to matter. And a 39-point victory against Penn State. A team who, again, I think is going to finish in the top half of the Big Ten Conference. I might be wrong. This might be one of those predictions where I'm wrong. But I talked to JR about this at the Big Ten Huddle. I'm impressed by Penn State. Obviously, today they didn't look very good, and Ace Baldwin got hurt very early in the game. Whether it was a legitimate hurt or not, or I guess a legitimate foul, or it was a flop, that's up for you guys to decide. But he wasn't himself. 0 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists on 0 for 6 shooting, and he only played 15 minutes. And, Ace Baldwin Jr. locked down Braden Smith in that Purdue game. He got hurt immediately trying to guard Kylan Boswell. And, it's just one of those, this team is different. And a lot of the concerns I had, I'm going to focus on the individual players in the next segment. They went out the window today. I'm going to be honest with you guys. They're just, when was it? I believe somebody in the Discord mentioned, when have we had a team this deep where we don't know where the scoring is going to come from? It can come from anybody. And as young as this team is, as long as this team is, this team's going to be, it's must-watch TV every single day. Watch. I know what's happening right now. I bet all of Twitter, everyone, all the national writers, again, are going to be like, this Illinois team is pretty impressive. I mean, they're 2 30-plus point victories. You know who already knew they were impressive? Us. We've been watching this team. We've been seeing it. And sure, we've been complaining. Illinois fans, that's what we do. We're a passionate bunch. We're an emotional bunch. And, we strive for the best. But all in all, I mean, let's just go ahead and talk about the players right after this. I want to open up some conversation about Ben Humrichous and Morez. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. We got about 110 people here and about 22 likes. And ladies and gentlemen, the math is not mathing there. So again, we got to support the Illini crowd. The vibe's got to be fantastic at this point. Hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed, please do. I'm in here doing this every single day. It's a way for you to support what I'm doing here. And it doesn't cost you a thing. Even on my son's birthday here, I'm late at night while he's waiting for me outside. Let's talk about the players now. Okay. For a couple weeks, this right here, this chat that I'm going to get to after this was just complaining, and understandably so, about Ben Humrichous and how many chances Brad Underwood would continue to give Ben. And Brad would be very adamant, saying, hey, just keep shooting. I've seen the way he shoots in practice. Just keep shooting. And I've come on here and trying to defend the idea of what Brad's trying to say. Like, hey, look, if this offense is to play to its ceiling, we need Ben. We need Ben. We need someone to stretch that floor. And you, again, got a kind of a glimpse today. Ben had 21 points, 9 rebounds on 8 of 15 field goals and 5 of 9 from three-point line. I believe 19 of that was in the first half. And he had 8 rebounds in the first half. 8 rebounds in the first half for Ben Humrichous. You saw it today. Where would we be in that first half without Ben? He's the guy who he felt confident. I talked about it in the Discord. At one point, every time Illinois was on the offensive end, he was positioning himself and calling for the ball. That's what we want. That's what we eventually want Will Riley to do. To have that sort of confidence that you're just feeling it. Hey, just give me the ball. I'll figure it out from them. Sure, I still cringe every now and then when he tries to do the booty ball stuff. It just doesn't look as smooth as when Marcus Damas did it last year. But Ben is slowly coming into his own. And again, we don't need him to be a star. If he can throw in 12, 13 points a night and just be a guy that the defense has to worry about, that's good enough. Because normally, and again, I haven't heard anything updates on Kasparas right now. As long as Kasparas is there, he'll dictate the offense. And what we want is the defense to not be able to focus solely on him. Trey White, 20 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Again, the quietest 20 and 7 that you'll see. It seems like he does this every single game. I am not a professional gambler, but I'm just telling you, every single game I take the over in Trey White points because nobody's caught on to this yet. That he's really turned the corner in the last 3 weeks or so. 30 minutes he played. he did have a steal. Kylan Boswell, 5 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. He had to play the point guard role today. And I thought he did a really solid job. He continued to attack the rim. And he continued just to not necessarily be so aggressive on the offensive end. 2 for 8. Again, his shooting woes still continue. But he understood he had to play a different role today. He's not the off-the-guard player today. Today, Kasparas is gone. Kylan, you're our point guard. Luckily, our backup point guard is better than 90% of the point guards in the country. But that just continues to show how deep this Illini team is. Tommy with 4 points, 7 rebounds, 2 of 6 from the field, just missing bunnies. Again, I don't know what's going on with him. He has been struggling a little bit as of late. But you know who hasn't been struggling? Morez Johnson Jr. I'm going to say it again. Hit that like button for Morez. This guy, I talk about him every single episode. He's going to go down as one of my favorite Illini of all time. I can feel it. I don't know if I have any room in my own family budget for his NIL next year, but I need him here. I need him to be all Big Ten next season, All-American as a junior. He's that good. Rarely do you see a big who just has such a high basketball IQ. He's always in the right place, in the right time. He's got a soft touch. And defensively, my gosh, I think he's our best defensive player. Well, him and Kylan. The reason Illinois is such a good defensive team is because we have guys like Kylan Boswell and Morez Johnson on the court at the same time. That's a nightmare for opposing offenses. Dre Gibbs Longhorn, 9 points, 2 rebounds, and assist. Kerry Booth got in there. I saw him at the end. It says he scored 2 points and a rebound. But again, you see why now. Ben Humrichous contributing. This is why you don't want to bench him immediately. This is why you don't want to just give him 5-10 minutes because maybe that's all he deserved. But Brad's watching this team in practice every single day. And Ben's obviously not playing like that because then he would stop playing in the real games. You know how I know this? Kerry Booth. Kerry Booth is obviously not showing anything in practice, and that's why he's not playing anymore in the real games. Ben is still getting the job done in practice. Obviously, he's doing the right things, and he went, granted, a 20-day stretch where he couldn't hit the side of a barn. But Brett understands that, hey, it's going in practice sessions. It's eventually going to go in during the game. And we're going to need Ben's shooting because on days when Kasparas is not feeling, who's going to be the other scorer? We know Trey White, is going to give us about 14, 15 a night. Great. Kylan Boswell should give us about a double figures, 10, 12 points a night. Fantastic. But there's no real other alpha on this team outside Kasparas. So it takes a community when the big guy is down, when KJ's out. And Illinois right now has 3-4 guys who can throw in 15 points in a game. And again, without Kasparas, they scored 91 points. I see the comment sections blowing up, so let's get to that right after this. All right. Again, I appreciate all of you joining us. We have almost 150 people in here. Thank you all so much. The support from you guys is what keeps me going. And again, I just had a conversation with the Locked On Illini, Locked On Network higher ups just earlier yesterday. Things went great because of your guys' support. And I told them for the longest time that they needed a Locked On Illini channel, and they waited and they waited and they waited and they finally gave one. And look at us. We're one of the fastest growing channels in the entire network. So, much love to all of you guys. Justin says, love seeing Ben have a great game. Trey White is killing it. That was me saying Ben almost scored PlayStation in the PlayStation. It's late. Penn State in the first half. William says, nice pick of Ben. He was a monster tonight, as well as Morez Jr. William says, too bad Ben didn't quite get the double-double. Yeah, I mean, he had 19 and 8 in the first half, and he didn't score till very late in that second half. So yeah, he didn't quite get the double-double. assumed that he did until right before the show when I took a look at this box score. But all in all, still a great game. I think he got his season high in that first half. He's doing his thing now. Jason, friend of the show, friend of the Discord, says, give this team credit. Everyone was freaking out when KJ was listed as out. I am everyone. Hand up. We are deep, and this team showed we are not a one-trick pony. Kenny had a really fantastic point here. He said, good look at what this team could look like next year. I've talked about this, right? Coming into this year, I thought this was a Sweet 16 team, but I thought that the 2026 year, that was a national title contender. You guys kind of got a glimpse of it today. Colin Boswell can come back next year. Ivisic can come back next year. Trey White can come back next year. Morez Johnson, I think, is going to enter beast mode next year. We got a glimpse of what, and now, wait, Ben Humrichous might be able to come back next year. This team, without getting that alpha, that's what it's going to count on, being able to recruit that next 5-star to kind of take Kasparas' role, has a very, very high floor next year. Kenny also said, interesting what they said about Ty working on being a point guard. Kenny, I think that's just talk. That's just filling air because Ty's not coming back. Ty knows he's not a point guard. Ty knows he just didn't have a role on this team. And he didn't want to burn a red shirt. And that hurts my heart to say because I love Ty Rodgers. But let's be real here. Yeah, we could have used him against Northwestern, but the way Trey White is playing, how many minutes would Ty Rodgers be playing at this point? Between Ivisic, Morez Johnson, Trey White, Will Riley, that's just too many guys. And Ty did the right thing for his situation, saves himself a year. He's going to be able to transfer somewhere next year probably and play a lot of minutes. Philip says Morez just keeps getting better. I'm wondering if the last couple of minutes Riley started to loosen up. It was garbage time, but he looked a little better. Morez Johnson, I think Mike Carpenter, who was the guest on today's episode, he tweeted just earlier, is he everyone's favorite Illini? I can absolutely see why. Yeah, William still says, Ty looks still bought in on the bench in the clips I've seen. That's the best part of Ty Rodgers. And I was considering doing a segment on this earlier where Brad Underwood in this pregame conference talked about Ty for about 3 minutes almost. And he talked about how vital Ty Rodgers has been to the team this year and his contributions on the scout team. He's always playing the toughest guy on the opposition. And he's barking out orders, and he's kind of the middleman for because he understands Brad Underwood, right? So when Brad Underwood goes through his weird tempers and stuff like that he's beloved for, Ty Rodgers can kind of be like, hey, this is what Brad means by this, to the new players, of which there's a lot on this team. Nice to see you, Billy. Jason says, Riley did more than just shoot this game. Rebound, assist, and got 7 was good to see. Now use that to help leap him against USC. Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see if Kasparas plays against USC. USC's not good, but Washington wasn't that good. So it's not like a team that you can necessarily sleep on. It's nice that the game's going to be in the State Farm Center, so I'm a little less worried about it. But hopefully we can use the USC game as another way to, as you said, Jason, maybe get Will going a little bit more. What I really like about Will Riley right now, and I said the same thing about Ben Humrichous 3 weeks ago. Once this game was in hand, I just locked in on Will Riley and I wanted to see what he was doing on the court. And this kid was running his butt off. He had some really nice blocks. He was going after the rebounds. He was doing his best to play defense. He's not that good at it yet, and his timing is off. And he got a couple silly fouls that once he's a sophomore or junior, that's just not going to happen. He had 2 fouls in today's game, but he's not giving up, and he's not sulking or, with his head down, shoulders up type of mentality. He's going after it, and he's still one guy who I think at some point will win a game just by himself. And I haven't given up on him. I think his trajectory might be very similar to Ben's. Ben got out of his funk earlier. Will is going to get out of his funk. I truly believe it. And someone had the perfect tweet about it. I asked for forgiveness. I forgot who said this. But when Ben Humrichous plays this way, that makes the Illini a Final Four team. If Will Riley plays to his maximum ability, that makes the Illini a national title contender. I read that, and that was spot on. If Will can get to becoming a guy who can give you 15, 16 a night and just be an offensive machine, even if it's off the bench, that's fine. Just give the defense another guy that they just have to worry about. There's no stopping this team. Tyler says Ace Baldwin, 15 minutes, 0 points. Yeah, Mr. Wide Open layup. And keep in mind, this guy bottled up Braden Smith. But, Braden Smith is no Kylan Boswell. Jay says Riley continues to struggle. Okay, Tyler. Quote of the night, largest Big Ten win since January 2004. Okay. I thought you were going to make a joke about the Oregon game. Yeah, and the team keeps doing it. This team, we're 5 Big Ten games in? All right, 4-1. And 2 of those games we've won by more than 30. Malcolm says, I remember the 1989 team. It was the best team I remember. I also remember, basically saying there's a lot of firepower on this team, and I completely agree. Let's get to a couple more of your comments right after this. Kellen says, Avicic is the best passing big man in the country. He had some dimes. He does. He's just got to figure out the scoring thing, because I think he's lacking that aggressiveness that he showed at the beginning of the year. And maybe this has something to do with Kasparas in the beginning year, just being so passive. Remember, we were all worried he had 4 shots, 3 shots, and 5 shots in his first 3 games or something like that. And the offense was kind of running through Tomislav. At that point, I was like, oh, this guy has all Big Ten potential. The offense has shifted. Kasparas has consumed the role that he has deserved, he's earned as the alpha guy on this team. And Tomislav, again, not the best game. 4 points, 7 rebounds, 2 of 6 shooting, 2 blocks though. And I think he was more physical today than he has been in the past, which I've called him out for. So I liked seeing that part, but he's got to get his offensive touch back. William says 40-10 run in the first half to go halftime up 45-21. Yeah. Tired is UConn's 30-0 run. Wired is Illinois going on a 40-10 run. Philip says a therapeutic win over Penn State. Exactly. And it's not just Penn State. Penn State's a team we've struggled with for a very long time. So we needed this game. Lee, nice to see you. Called this home blowout on the Sleepers preview this morning. Home after a long road trip. Kylan containing ace while cracking his back, putting the Big Ten on watch. Everyone's got to be on watch. This is interesting. Okay, here comes the MVP talk. Philip says MVP is Ben. He got turned around early. John Stock says Trey White is the MVP. Colin says, I'm going to go with Colin. I like what Ben did, and granted, we probably wouldn't be talking so comfortably now if it wasn't for Ben's outburst in that first half. But Morez Johnson, he's just one of those guys who's so supremely talented. 9 for 11 shooting. And he's got such a high basketball IQ. Every time he's on the floor, good things happen, even if he doesn't touch the ball. He's one of the best defending bigs in all of college basketball. And today, he just happened to shoot the ball 11 times, scoring 20 points off of those. 20 points, 11 rebounds, and the guy played 20 minutes. Is that good? Is that ratio good? 20 points, 11 rebounds in 20 minutes? That's pretty decent. And Kenny mentions Morez plus 33 tonight. So, Philip, I had meant to get to this, and I completely forgot in the first segment. So thank you for bringing this up. When I was talking about the defense, Penn State's a very good offensive team. Penn State, as Philip brings up here, averages 86.8 points per game coming in. They were held to 52 today. And for most of the game, it looked like we could have potentially held them under 40. When Illinois wants to lock down defensively, they will lock down defensively. Sure, there'll be games where they give up 75 points, but it's because they themselves scored 92. and the pace is a little bit different. But Brad Underwood, the Illini, understood today that, well, ultimately they're wrong, that it's not the offense that they could count on. They need to lock down defensively, figure it out. Because let's be honest, they looked lethargic in the first half, didn't they? Or at least, in the first 5 minutes of that first half. I believe it was Philip who said, hey, bring DGL in. We need a spark on offense. They looked a little disorganized, and that's understandable. The guy who has the ball most of the time on offense was not on the bench. And so it seemed like they were sorting and trying to figure it out. So at some point, they just like, hey, we can still play on the defensive side of the basketball court. And that's what they did. And Penn State just stopped scoring. It's not like the Illinois went crazy. I mean, I believe they had like 45 points in the first half, which of course is impressive. But it's because of their defensive end that this game was so impressive. Jason says, we're a Final Four caliber team. I said what I said. I'm not going to question that. I'm not going to question that. All right. BD Shepard says co-MVPs, Ben and Morez. Game flow and speed is better without KJ on the floor. I talked about the speed and the flow, BD. So I mentioned that too. KJ's amazing, and we're a 10 times better team when he's playing than he's not. But the way the offense plays is very different. When KJ's not playing, the ball's moving around a lot faster, and that's when you see the threes being launched a lot quicker. And I think that's kind of when you might have a tendency, like when that team is on, to score 90 plus. It's getting late, and my son, it's his birthday, and I know he's waiting for me to put him to bed. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you all so much for joining me. You'll be seeing me every day as always. USC, I believe, is on Saturday. So of course, I'll be going live immediately after that game too, like I do every single game. So if you haven't liked or subscribed to this channel before, please do so now. Something like 63% of you watch this without being subscribed. So wait for you to contribute to the channel without it costing anything. Before my voice goes out, thank you all so much. I love you guys.